we'll talk about Pushpa's question. Is that Pushpa there? Yes, it is. Where she is. There she is. Okay. Okay. So Pushpa's saying she does the purification practice, but she still feels guilty about naughty things that she's done. Okay? Yes? Okay. So let's look at the problem of that attitude. Okay, so let's say you've been learning to play the piano and you've learned the instructions wrongly and you play the wrong notes. Okay? That's like a negative action. That's theory, you know? And then you learn to fix it. And you play the right notes and you play the right notes and you play the right notes and you are getting better. But you still feel, oh, I'm a bad piano player. It's not true. You fixed it. So it's just irrational. Because as Lama Yeshe says, we create negativity with our mind. So we purify it by creating positivity with our mind. So you solve the problem, you fix the problem. So it's not rational to keep thinking, I'm a bad person. You fixed it, you purified it. So you have to analyze your mind. Why do you keep going on about being negative? So, I mean, what is it? Why do you think? You know you've done the purification, and that includes, I regret having done it because I don't want the suffering. It includes, I have compassion for those I harmed. You do the practice and you purify and you vow not to do it again. That is all there is to do. You fixed the problem. So why do you keep thinking, I am still a bad person? It's not rational. Can I actually have the mic? It's not rational. It's not logical. Where's the microphone? Grab the microphone, sweetheart. Do you understand that point? So why do you keep saying, I still feel guilty? So explain clearly.
Do you think because it's
You have to speak louder, darling.
okay? Do you think because in my opinion, it's my delusional?
Yes, delusional.
And when I say regret, I didn't regret. You know, I didn't.
But okay, good. So listen, good. If you're playing the piano and someone says you have to play the right notes, but you still think, no, I'm going to play it wrong, then clearly you have to take responsibility. But did you regret it? Have you thought to yourself, I did that negative action and I regret it? This is the first step, because I don't want that habit in my mind. Did you think those thoughts or not? Or did you only have regret because of compassion? Which one?
Because of compassion.
But not for yourself. So you didn't think see, you've got to first say, it's like as if you eat poison. You have to regret eating it because you do not want sickness. So doing a negative action will cause you future suffering. You have to first regret it for that reason. Then you regret it for harming others for their sake. Then you purify, say mantra, do the practice. Then you vow, I will not do it again. So you are cleaning it up. It is not rational to keep saying, oh, I'm a bad person. Can you hear that? So you have to learn to stop thinking it. Is that answering the question, do you think?
Yeah.
Because it's true, you did do bad thing. I agree, everybody does. But this is our worst thing. We hold on to it. I'm a bad person. Oh yeah, I'm trying to purify, but I'm still a bad person. I'm purifying, but I'm still a bad person. It's not rational. You're purifying it. Now, if other people know you did that negative action, and if other people still criticize you, that's another discussion. Is that what's happening?
No.
No, okay. So then there's no reason. You're not lying to yourself. You're being very logical. You're fixing it. It's just your mind. So if your mind is negative, you fix it by being positive. It's literally the opposite. If you play the wrong note, you fix it by playing the right note. The wrong note is now gone. The mistake is now finished. Same with the mind. But ego, we want to hold on to the bad. That's the irony of being ego. Ego is negative, you know. We cope like a broken record in our head. You understand? So everybody's like this. It's okay. So we have to learn to be happy we are purifying and that we can change. Do you understand? Good job.
I think Alini had a question as well.
Who did? Who is it?
Alini.
Hey, hello, Robina.
Okay, Alina, talk to me, sweetheart.
How are you?
Good, darling.
Good. We were talking before the break about death and decision, and my question is about. I had a situation. My mother got in a ICU. She was in a
Your
coma.
what, darling? What happened? What?
My mother, she was in ICU. She was in a
Yes.
coma,
Yes.
and I was the one who had to fight for the doctors to reassess because they had a very materialistic point of view of consciousness. You know, they thought she was dead.
Yes.
And well, lo and behold, she wasn't. They brought her back, but she came back with what's the name? Some brain damage. So
Yes.
she can no longer walk. She needs care 24/7. And what happens is, I made the decision. She's not happy with her life now. She resents. I don't think she resents me, but she's very independent. You know, she's very strong woman like herself, and she's not happy about it. And I don't know what to do with this because I was the one who made this decision to not really let her die.
I understand. So if you hadn't persuaded the doctors, what would they have done instead?
They would let her, they wouldn't have tried different medication and different approach. Probably they would let her die. You know, she was in this limbo. They thought that she was brain damaged, that she was never going to wake up. And then they didn't try different antibiotics and different stuff after I asked. I think they wouldn't push for a different treatment.
I understand. So what does your mother think?
Well, she's very disappointed. She's now
disappointed with what? Does she know in what way disappointed? With you or just with the fact that she's now suffering?
I think with the fact that she's now suffering.
Not with you?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't know.
So then, but why do you think her suffering is your fault? Why do you think that? It's not very clear. It's not very rational. You did what is appropriate. You know, you said your mother is still there, and the doctors then helped her come back to become conscious. So as a result of her own karma, she has sickness. But I mean, she's still a human being, and every second she has got this suffering, she is purifying, and every second she is still existing, she's got the opportunity to create virtuous thoughts. So, I mean, but this is her karma. You didn't cause her to die or not die. If she was really already dead, the doctors, no matter what they did, she couldn't have become back to life. So, you know, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I sort of understand you, but it's not so obvious that you should be feeling bad. You didn't cause her to be sick. Of course she's unhappy, but you have to try and love her and make her as happy as you can and tell her life is worthwhile. Still, I mean, Lama Zopa says every second we have a human mind, there's some benefit.
Yeah, I understand. But that really, a follow-up question to that is that really changed my way of view of, like, I have made a decision for myself. I myself wouldn't like to have, I would like to do a non-resuscitation document, you know.
What, darling? What?
I have made a decision and I draw papers to not be, in case whenever I get sick and if I find myself in a situation as such, I have made a document saying that I do not want it to be resuscitated.
Okay, so wait. So then you're saying, I mean, to be resuscitated means you are dying. If she were dying, what they did could not have helped her. What you've got to understand is that if you are really dying, you can't reverse that. You can't reverse the dying. If the dying process starts, you can't reverse it. That's not rational to think that. So being resuscitated, so when, okay, so what does resuscitated mean in medical terms? What does it mean? Does people know in medical terms? Hang on. Kerry, what do you think? Can we have the microphone? Sorry, no. What's it mean? Will I be resuscitated or won't I?
Stop. The breathing stops. They try to bring you back.
Okay. So Kerry is suggesting that in medical terms, resuscitation, I think this is right. Keep the microphone there. I want Kerry to have it. I think it means that the person has stopped breathing, their heart has stopped, and then you bring them back to resuscitate them, to come back to life. So your mother was not stopping breathing, was she?
She was, and they put her in a, that's why they put her intubated. They intubated her for a week.
What does intubated mean?
When you put this tube to make her lungs breathe artificially, because she had brain activity, but she had a lung collapse, so she couldn't breathe.
So was she breathing, or so you mean if they hadn't intubated her, she would have died?
Yeah.
You're saying that?
Yeah. She would have had a heart
if she'd
attack.
been left naturally, she would have died. You're saying that?
I think so. Yes.
That's
Yes.
what people mean by resuscitation. It is. I understand. I mean, it's an interesting point. I understand, Alina. I do understand that. But what you have got to do, I think your reasoning for doing this is quite negative.
Yeah.
You do it because you don't want to have suffering. You're
Yeah.
afraid of the suffering.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a view of, I'm just talking, okay, darling, you do what
Sure.
you like. And I think it's really true. Many people would have that view, and it's quite reasonable that if you're naturally going towards death, please let me die. I think that's okay, but you've got to do it for a good, a virtuous reason. I mean, are you a Buddhist? I'm just asking. Are you a Buddhist?
Yeah, Robina.
Okay, darling. So then.
Yeah, I have the
okay.
refuge. I've taken the
Okay, all right,
vows.
darling, good. So just theoretically, I know, for example, okay, what was the reason you said, no, she's not dead yet? Because you just felt she was still there and it was important to intubate her.
Because, well, the intubation, that was a very quick decision. That was the doctors who made the decision. And then she went in a coma. So she was in ICU with this ventilator.
Okay, wait. She looked, so please give me the steps. What happened? What was the first thing that you saw, everybody saw?
I wasn't there. That was my brother. She had internal bleeding, and then she went into cardiac arrest. And then the doctors decided to intubate her. And then,
So just a minute, cardiac arrest means your heart stops.
yes.
So if that had happened at home and there was no doctor, what would have happened?
She would have died.
Okay, so she had cardiac arrest and then they wanted to let her die. Are you saying that?
No, they decided to intubate her because that is the
So
procedure.
they decided to
Yes.
intubate her. So what are you saying, that you forced them to bring her back to life? You said that.
Yes, because after that, she was placed for a week in the ICU. So she was not awake. She was not conscious. And then the doctors said that she was probably she was dead, that she would never recover.
Okay, what would they have done if they didn't ask you? What would they have done?
I think they would just let her in the machine and see
So
if
they
the
would
infection...
they would stop intubating her. They would have stopped the machine.
Yeah, they cannot do that, but they would just let her in this limbo until all the organs would end up failure, I guess.
What did you say you wanted them to do?
Yes, and then I said that I didn't believe that she was dead because they said that her brain was dead. And I said, I don't think so because of my medical knowledge in the area and my Buddhist knowledge too. And then I talked to her, and then over a few days, she started responding with her body. And the doctor said,
stop there. So she responded. You felt that she was responding. So
yes.
in that sense, you were correct that she wasn't dead. So therefore you said, try to get her stay alive. It seems to me very logical and correct what you did. She wasn't dead. Her karma hadn't finished. So you cannot blame yourself for bringing her back to life, because she was showing she was alive. She
Yeah.
showed her mind was still conscious. Well, then you didn't cause her to not die. You didn't force her to come back to life. That's not rational. She was obviously still alive, and they made the effort to bring her back. So sure, she's got brain damage. You didn't cause that. Her brain was already damaged. But you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't do something. You did what was intelligent. She indicated she was still alive, and you seemed to be accurate in that, because if she was going to be dead, no matter how much they do, she would have been dead.
Yeah, that's what I kept thinking at
So
the
then
time.
you're feeling that you think you did the wrong thing because she's suffering.
Yes.
Okay,
Because
so
she's not happy about it.
what's your Buddhist understanding and analysis of the suffering? And how do you try to understand it for yourself?
I just try to think about that is her karma and that is my karma. She is in this position. She created these conditions. I created these conditions. And I just have to be there for her. That's all. I moved back home for 6 months. I took care of her. I did everything I could to make her comfortable.
So why are you feeling bad? I understand, but I'm asking, why do
Yeah.
you feel like you've done the wrong thing?
I don't know, because she's really not happy about being
But that's
alive.
her mind, not your mind. You're not making her mind unhappy.
I know.
You didn't force her to do something that wasn't there. If she hadn't the karma to be alive, she would have died. So you were accurate in seeing she was still there. You were accurate. You were accurate.
Yeah, I understand, but I don't think she thinks that's a life worth living. And I don't think.
I know she doesn't think her life is worth living because she's suffering. That's
Yeah.
very common. That's very normal, sweetheart. But
Yeah.
for you to think it's your mistake because your mother's mind is negative, that's too extreme. It is not your mistake. That's your mother's mind. So your job, your practice is to love her as much as possible, to make her comfortable, to make her feel she is worthwhile, to make her know she is a valid person, to love her and nurture. And instead of just feeling guilty, this is not helpful to her or to you. So sure,
Yes.
make a decision, you won't be resuscitated, but do it for a compassionate, virtuous reason.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong. But this is a very, very common experience. People suffer. So does she appreciate your kindness, and she loves you, and she looks forward to you being with her? She gets nourishment from you.
She does, but she also gets, resentment from herself.
Stop. What resentment of what?
Well, I think when I was there, she was happy that I was there. She misses me, but I can
I
tell.
don't understand what you're saying. What?
Well, she's happy that everything I did for her, I think she was happy about it. But
What do you mean by everything you did for her? I don't understand, Alina.
I got the doctors. I paid for the treatments. I found her. I was with her. I taught her how to start the talk again. I did a rehabilitation with her for 6 months, and
You helped her, so why is she resentful?
because she's not an independent person anymore.
But why is she resentful of you?
I don't know.
But is she resentful of you?
I don't know. Maybe I don't. She never said that, but maybe she. I think she would have rather died.
But of course she would rather die, but she doesn't blame you for it.
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't
Why
know.
would she blame you for coming back to life? Why would she blame you, Alina?
I don't know, Robina.
But does she? But you're saying she does.
No, I don't. She never said that, but
Why
she's
would
not
she
happy that she's
blame you?
alive. She says that
Why
she would
would she
rather,
blame you? Why would she blame you?
because I was the one who
You're
made
doing
the
it to yourself.
decision.
No, you're doing it to yourself.
Yeah, I know.
So what do you think the solution is, Alina?
I just have to do what I do, Robina. I just have to love her and make things better for her and for myself, I guess. Just keep being.
But why does it make you sad, Alina?
It was very hard, Robina, and I was the one who made the decision, and she's
You see,
now.
and no matter what I've said, you're still believing you're like Pasma. You're blaming
I-
yourself, even though, I mean, it's even what you're saying, even your mother doesn't blame. Why would your mother think Alina's the cause of all my suffering? Ah, you're a bad girl. She's not thinking that. You're just being self-tortured.
Yeah. It's this attachment, right? I don't know how to deal with it because I don't want to suffer seeing her suffering. And I do my practice. I try to
Why?
rejoice.
Okay, okay. Listen, everybody. There's Alina. Okay, see the people. They're all listening. There's Alina. Okay, Alina.
Hello, everyone.
They're all listening. Okay.
I know a few of you.
Listen, precious girl. Are you hearing logically, based on what you said, I cannot see any logical reason why you should blame yourself for your mother's suffering.
I do, Robina. I do.
So then you have to work with that. And
Okay.
what is happening is because you have got compassion, right, for your mother.
Yes. Yes.
And you've got attachment, and attachment in you, like in all of us, only wants everything to be lovely.
Yes.
Because it makes us feel better. So it's totally self-centered. I'm not being cruel. Attachment is what makes attachment and your aversion and now your guilt. That's why you are suffering.
I agree.
So all this is doing is preventing you from helping your mother.
Indeed it is. Indeed it
That's
is.
right. It's just becoming, I know you know this, so be rational, be as clear as you can. Keep thinking, I shouldn't have kept her alive. It's not you're not bloody God. You did not keep her alive. You made an intelligent decision based on what was evident, that your mother was conscious, that your mother wasn't brain dead. You were correct.
Yes.
So be a big girl.
Thank you, Robina.
Sure, make a decision not to resuscitate. Nothing wrong, but do it out of bodhicitta, not out of self-pity and not out of guilt and anger.
Okay.
All right, darling?
Thank you, Robina.
And then you love your mummy and help her and make her feel worthwhile. Every second of her human mind, she is creating some virtue and she's purifying her negative karma. So when she does die, she'll be ready for a blissful next life.
Okay.
You are helping her. And learn from it, and learn that it's your attachment and your aversion that are causing you suffering, not her, not your compassion.
Okay.
This is life.
Thank you.
All right, darling.
Thank you.
Be brave.
Thank you.
We understand. Same with you. You've got to be logical, Pushpa. Not
This is samsara.
What-
Whatever you do.
what?
No, I thought this is a samsara.
what do you do is work on your mind.
That's correct.
Be brave. Grow up. All of us. Guilt is our worst crime against ourselves. Guilt is self-pity. Guilt is like a child. Guilt is like a baby, and it's self-anger, and it is useless. I'm crying here. Look at us. Yes.
Okay, you
Talk, yeah.
question.
Yeah.
This raises in some ways
Bit louder, darling.
a philosophical type question. It sounds like in that case, like in a lot of our lives, we make the best decision we can at the time.
That's what we can do, yeah.
Yeah, and afterwards we may have guilt whether it was the best or not.
Right.
And even though it genuinely was the best decision.
Yes.
So I know it's logical not to regret the best decision you made.
That's
because
right.
it's the best decision.
Yes.
But later on, when you reflect on this and maybe try to purify your bad decision through bodhisattva practice
Yes.
or whatever, and you still feel guilty, is there any other alternative practice to do to maybe get rid of that? For instance, I was just thinking possibly analytical meditation.
No, that's what I'm saying. What I'm doing here is an analysis, analyzing each of the steps, analyzing the possibility, analyzing each one, and then recognizing that the decision, for example, that she made was based on the evidence that her mother was there. That means her mother wasn't dead. So therefore, it's from her mother's side, she was showing she wasn't dead. So she, from her side, said, you are wrong, doctors. She's not dead. She's not a vegetable. And she could have lied there for months and months in a coma with her mind still there, having nightmares. So even what the suffering she's got now is even better than what it would have been. And then them killing her.
So in meditation, you have to analyze that.
I think you're going to be, this is what I was trying to say to her, step by step. What happened, then this, then that, then this, you know. And then, but the real one about guilt, because the guilt is the destructive one. So what guilt is saying, I did this bad action and I did that bad action, even if it wasn't bad. And then you say, and I'm a bad person. So that is basically anger. So if I say you did this and you did that and you're a bad person. So anger in my mind is painting a picture of you as bad. And then I hold on to that picture. That is shocking. And that is what guilt is. And even if she did do something wrong, guilt is it is irrational. Guilt is extreme and is exaggerating your badness. It's taking one action and painting the whole of yourself with that brush. It's not accurate. So to say, but I did do it, even if it's wrong, I did do a bad action. And you know what, like I said to her, I do regret having done it. Because when I did it, it sowed a negative seed. And I don't want that negative seed to ripen as my suffering. So regret is an intelligent first step that says, I regret having done that because I don't want suffering. So then, given that I have done it, what will I do about it? And then next step, I turn to the Buddha as my doctor and I use his methods to then purify myself. So the next step is I then have compassion for the person I might have harmed. And then next step, I imagine purifying it. And our mind is what purifies. As Lama Yeshe said, we create negativity with the mind. So now we change it by creating positivity with the mind. And then the fourth step, I will not do it again. And that purifies all four ways of how karma ripens. That's it. Guilt is extreme and absurd and is not rational. And that's what causes us so much pain.
So just meditation part, we have to be able to break this process.
Yes, yes, yes.
To explain why.
No, it's not just, but also it's not just kind of crossing your fingers and living in denial. It's very clear thinking.
And going forward with any additional practices, like for instance, meditation, manjushri or something.
All of these things, yes, of course it is. But every day, if every day we do purification, you're weakening and weakening and weakening those negative tendencies, and you're purifying all four aspects of how karma ripens. It's a gradual, ongoing process. It's like a big tree you've built, a wrong tree, and you chip it away every day until eventually it falls over. It's an ongoing, organic, psychological process.
Just another one. So would you recommend some form of practice, get the word, the purification practice every day? Or
oh my God. Living in our vows every day, and then when we purify at the end of the day, reiterating, so you do the regret and you regret. What do I regret at the end of the day? I regret kicking the dog and being mean to my husband. Then I say, and all the other things I've done, because I don't want the future suffering. That's the first step. I mean, His Holiness was asked one time in this first step, regret. The man said, what is the difference between guilt and this regret you are describing? He said, guilt, like I said, guilt, you go, I did this, and you did, and I did this, but then you conclude, and now I'm a bad person. So you stay stuck. I'm a bad person. But first, like I said, it's not rational. Your action is bad. The Catholics have a lovely saying. You don't criticize the sinner, you criticize the sin. So you don't criticize I, but the action you did. because right there next to those negative actions are the positive ones. So the whole of you is not bad. That's not rational. But when, as His Holiness said, guilt is I look in the past and I say, I did this and I did that. And then you conclude, and I'm a bad person. So you can't move forward. You're stuck. She was stuck. Alina's stuck. You're useless to yourself and others. But he says, no, regret. You look in the past. Same. I did do that. I did kick the dog. I did steal. But then you say, what can I do to fix it? Because the mind is not set in stone. And then you wait, and then you move forward. Quick, where's the doctor? I've just taken poison. Where's the doctor to give me the medicine? And then you take the medicine, and that's the rest of the purification practice. That's the purification practice. That's psychologically what you do to purify it. And all of this is based upon the Buddhist view that your mind isn't set in stone. I know when I work with people in prison, they loved this idea of purification practice, because if you're in prison and you've killed somebody, this is absolute that you are evil. I'm bad and I'm finished. But to hear that it's not set in stone, there's no karma you cannot change because the mind is impermanent. That's Buddha's incredible view, and we should use that to our advantage.
Just one more. So that's probably covered. So,
That's right, me too.
so you were saying basically, invite yourself as part of this right should have the same effect as going to a good confession.
Well, I mean, you could say that, yeah. So this is why in the Catholic one, and I loved going to confession. In fact, no, I didn't. My first confession, I got stage fright. I cried. I didn't know what to say. There was a priest behind this black thing. And I know the kind priest came out and held my hand and helped me confess my naughty sins at the age of 4 or something, you know. It was okay. But I mean, I was a good Catholic. I loved being a Catholic. So, yeah, confession was, I loved going to confession because the point is there. I confessed to God, and then God has, and this is the other point. Now, please, this is the other point. This is the other point. If I have faith in a creator, then I know I broke God's law. So then I have to beg God to forgive me, and his forgiveness is what purifies me. Now, Alina kept saying that she felt her mother was resentful of her. She was interpreting it that way, as if her mother is blaming her. Therefore, her mother isn't forgiving her. Therefore, she's bad. You know, so I mean, this is completely irrational, because even if I harm you as my boyfriend, and then I keep asking you to forgive me, we misuse forgiveness. If you forgive me, I feel, oh, phew, I'm off the hook now. But if you stop forgiving me, I will kill myself, because I think I need you to forgive me to make me feel pure. So here we purify ourselves. We forgive ourselves. The first step is forgiving ourselves. Then you have compassion. Then you purify. And then you balance. That is itself the purification practice. And it's more profound because you're not relying upon anybody else to make you feel better, because it's a logical process. We have to remember it like that, because the instinct of ego is concrete and is the irony of ego. It blames me. That's the worst component of ego. I am bad. So deep inside, it's a function of ego grasping. It's a function of the root delusion. Do you understand? So we've got to be very grown up about it, be very and clear. We don't lie to ourselves. Oh, I really didn't do it. It's not my fault. You know? And it makes us very courageous to look at ourselves honestly, to be accountable. Guilt is no accountability. But this regret is accountable. I did do it. What can I do to fix it? It's very accountable. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I've got another thing to say. My feeling is the more we look at guilt, since we're little girls and boys, we've been programmed with God said this, mummy said this, daddy said that, all the instructions of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Do you agree with that? So what guilt is, even if nobody saw you do it, she said that. She only knew she did it. But there's this feeling, we've internalized God's law. God said, don't do this, you're a bad person. Mummy says, don't do this, you're a bad person. Grandma says, don't do this, you're a bad person. So we've got that programmed in our mind, and then we use it against ourselves. Oh, I've done a bad action, I must be a bad person. It's just awful. Because we have to be accountable to ourselves and learn basic morality, basic ethics. What is a good action? What is a bad action? And we don't need to be forgiven. We don't. It's nice to be forgiven, but that's not what purifies you. Buddha is a nice person. He would forgive you, but that's not his job. The doctor, if I go to the doctor every day, oh, I smoke cigarettes again, doctor, please forgive me. She will forgive me. It doesn't purify my cancer. I've got to stop smoking cigarettes and grow up. Do you understand? And know, the key point is know that the mind is not set in stone. We're not innately bad. That's the liberating thing. There's no tendency we can't counteract. That gives us more courage. Do you understand? It's nice to be forgiven by other people. It's a bonus if you do forgive me. But if you're really being my friend, you'd say, Robina, I will forgive you, but you better start changing, baby. Because as soon as you forgive me, I misuse it, and you make me I'm using you to make me feel better. How rude of me. So we shouldn't misuse forgiveness. And if we think God forgives us, but you've got to vow you won't do it again, otherwise you just do it again. Oh, please forgive me again. As the Lama say, you can keep breaking your leg and keep fixing it, but one day it's very hard to fix it. You've got to, So it's really to do with accountability and grown up and courage, because the biggest thing is we can't stand to see the negativity. There's even, I remember Lama Zopa said one time, if you're a really advanced practitioner and no eight worldly dharmas and not much attachment, if you do anything negative, at the time you do it, if you're not trying to hide it, you don't break it fully. But we try to hide. We're terrified of it. We don't want to look at it. We make it all go away. We can't stand people looking, and we're terrified of it, But if you don't hide it, then you're more open, and therefore it's less negative, less pain, less ego involved. Are we communicating?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yes, Alina? We're communicating? Good, sweetheart. So we have to grow up. It sounds cruel. Be accountable. Your mother is alive and your mother is suffering. You did not cause it, Alina. God Almighty. But you love her and be kind to her and nourish her and hug her and tell her she's valuable and she's worthwhile every day. Okay. Yes, people, any questions? Yes, sweetheart.
Thank you, Sue.
Speak clearly in the microphone.
So you said that taking vows amplifies the positive actions in the karma. Is the opposite also true? Does it also mean that you get more negative karma if you are under vow? Like
If you break a vow. Oh yeah, sure. Of course it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. Yes. Of course it is. But it's sort of like, and that's what often oh, well, I shouldn't take a vow. It's sort of like saying, well, I mean, if you drive a car, look at the danger. If people started listing all the dangers of driving a car, if that was the main thing, you'd never get inside a car. You're going to destroy your people. You get killed. But you've got to see the advantages of it. And then you'll be extra careful not to drive badly because you don't want to die. So you've got to see the advantages of the vows. Every second you have a vow of no killing, no stealing, lying, as Lama Zopa says, it's like an atomic bomb under all the past tendencies, and it hastens your ability to create virtue. So we use it to our advantage. There's always a downside. If you drive, look at the advantages of driving, but yeah, sure, if you're not careful, you'll kill yourself. You understand? Yeah. What else, people? See, again, the purification practice, we've got to think about it so carefully, vows so carefully, because we're so used to hearing it religious, punishment, reward, that we don't think of it clearly. We don't think it as psychological, but it is only that. And this regret one is so important to understand. The commonest one for us is to hear it as guilt. Even as the people I know who have been Buddhists for years, even a person who's a Buddhist teacher, the way he interprets regret is just anger. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. That's just anger. I'm a bad person. We're not really being clear about it. It's just like, that's why they always use the analogy. If you've got a tendency to get diabetes, you eat the wrong food. It's very clear. You go, oh my God, I can't believe it. Of course I regret having done that. Quick, how can I fix it? Immediately you'd know, because you just sowed a seed in your mind and you don't want diabetes. It's very obvious with something like the body. With the mind, all we do is hide it. No, I didn't do it. No, I didn't do it. And then it's burning away, eating us up, I'm a bad person. It's very irrational, but that's ego. It's the irony of ego, Ego's not happy. It's concrete, fixed. And it's clear that guilt is anger. It is anger, and you are the object. That's it. And I think it's got a lot to do with this one of we've internalized, Mummy says, Daddy says, we've grown up in all these years with strong instructions. Don't do that. And if you do that, you're naughty. That's in our mind. And mainly guilt is about, and this is where the added point, this guilt is, even though they don't see you, your mummy doesn't see you do it. But you think I'm a bad person. And really what that's based on is this huge attachment, more than for sex and drugs and rock and roll. The deepest attachment of all is the attachment to being seen as a good boy. Whether it's by God or mummy, we're craving to be seen as a good boy. And as soon as we do a naughty action, we leap ahead and we say, I'm a bad person. In other words, I won't be approved of. It's the deepest attachment. This deepest attachment, they call it attachment to reputation, but it's really attachment to being seen as a nice boy. We're craving to be seen as a nice boy and a nice girl. And guilt is the response to that. So we have to verify ourself. We have to validate ourself. We have to take accountability ourself for our actions, validate ourself. We learn to see our own good qualities and that I am the one who produces myself. I don't need to be told I'm a good girl, and I don't need to be told I'm a bad girl. I have to know myself. This is really powerful. We're the one who we can rely on Buddha, no problem. That's like relying on a doctor. The doctor doesn't heal you. The doctor doesn't give you cancer. The doctor gives you advice and you take the advice. Buddha is the same. And even though when we do bodhisattva, we visualize the Buddha and we imagine Buddha purifying us, technically Buddha's not purifying us. It's our mind thinking of Buddha, using our creative imagination and imagining it. That's we who do the purification. Okay, if we're a highly advanced bodhisattva, the Buddha would be there. It would be real nectar, like the saints having these visions of, things. But you're just imagining it. It's your mind that does it. As Lama Yeshe says, two things he said, like I say before. One, we create negativity with our mind and we purify it by creating positivity with our mind. Also, he says, purification is the power of regret, the power of refuge and compassion, the power of the remedy, the power of the resolve to not do it again. That is the process that transforms our mind. We use Buddha's techniques, that's all. We do the work, not Buddha. And he would forgive us. He's a nice person. That is not what purifies us. It's our mind that purifies us. Let's remember that. I think it's because we're so addicted to the concept of punishment and reward, When mummy smiles at you, you feel like, oh, I'm a good person. Phew. When she doesn't smile at you, oh, I'm a bad person. That's all guilt is. It's not rational. It's not rational. And I'm a good person is not rational either, because we paint the whole of ourselves. Because I did the dishes for mummy and she says, thank you, you're a good girl. And we immediately paint the whole of us as a good girl. We don't tell her that we stole the biscuit. We kept that secret. Oh, I'm a good girl. I'm seeing like a good girl. So they both are irrational. The action is good and the action is bad, but you are made up of many pieces, not just one. And that's ego grasping. It sees the big lump of me, It's not rational. Guilt is not rational. Accountability, I did do that action. And delighting, I did do that good action and rejoicing in it. This is really important. One step. We are the one who verify ourselves, and we are the one who validate ourselves, and we're the one who purify ourselves, and we're the one who forgives ourselves, and we're the one who changes ourselves. We rely upon the doctor. We rely upon the sentient beings, like that. And then if the whole world hates you, it's water off a duck's back, eventually, you know. I mean, we can see in our life why we suffer so badly is because other people don't approve of us. So then what happens is other people don't approve of us, so I assume I'm a bad person. That is hysterical. That is literally irrational. That's irrational. That shows how hungry we are for approval. Somebody just says, I don't like you, Robina. We go kill ourselves. Excuse me. What is that our mothers taught us? Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. Were you taught that one? I'd love to hear it, but it's literally true, you know. So we're so craven for approval. As soon as we get it, we kind of feel, oh, I must be okay if she smiled at me. And as soon as we get the mean look, oh my God, I'm a bad person. That's how we are. This is attachment. This is attachment, people. So we go from pillar to post, going crazy, you know. That's why we want to hide all our bad qualities. We can't bear to be seen to be naughty. We're terrified because we won't get approved of. We're like little scaredy babies, you know. This is ego. You have to grow up, be brave, be self-respectful. It takes courage, huge courage. This is what giving up attachment and aversion means. You know, when you really look inside it. It's incredibly subtle, incredibly hard work. This is the job. And that's why I think it's so important to remember the Buddhist teachings continuously and read the teachings about how the nature of our mind is pure. That's a radical idea. You know, that's not the neuroscientific view. That's not the view in the Western science. It's like a silly idea. Your mind is pure. Go to a neuroscientist. Is my mind pure? No, it's shitty, pissy stuff. It'll go down the dust when you die. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about our capacity for cognition. And that's Buddha's amazing teachings. It's very encouraging to know that the nature of your mind is the virtues. Delusions, Buddha has found that the delusions in the mind are there, they run the show, but they're not at the core of our being. This is a tremendously powerful concept, you know. So having that as courage, and it's our job to discover that purity. It's our job. Using all these tools, yes. That's why rejoicing every day, remembering at the end of the day, you do your poor opponent powers, and then you remember your good qualities. I've done a good job. I've done my best. I've got this. I've done that. I'm trying to be generous, trying to be this. But we always forget to do that. We love to go on about the negative ones. It's so important. I mean, Rinpoche says, Lama says, just even one positive thought about yourself is like atomic bombs on negativity. Because we can hear all the natural head, the voices in our head, you know, always seem to be negative, don't they? The ones that kind of come uninvited. And like I joke, I've never heard yet a person say, Robina, I can't stop thinking good thoughts. You just don't have, you don't say that, you know, isn't it? So we have to practice saying the positive thoughts. We have to remember to say them. Okay, we are dying for other people to praise us. We're hungry. Please say good words about me. But the terrible irony is we don't believe them. So they say them again. No, I don't believe it. Say it again. No, I don't believe it. We're demented. Just say them yourself. Be done with it. Don't wait for other people. Ridiculous. Praise yourself. Not pride, virtue. Self-respect. So encouraging. And also don't be so scared of our negativity. Don't be so scared of it. Don't be so scared of it. Yeah, we've done bad things. Join the universe, folks. It's okay. You can fix it. You can fix it. You can fix it. It's okay. So live in vows, purify every day. Then you can sit back with your feet up and eat popcorn all day, watching Netflix. I'm not kidding. Okay, you can add bodhicitta, that helps. So listen, I thought we might go through now. We might look at the 11 little points of how to get compassion. We're looking at a wisdom wing that informs us and prepares us to get compassion. Now let's look at the techniques to get compassion, okay, that all culminate in bodhicitta. So like I said, the emphasis in the first and second scopes of practice are all about playing safe, harnessing the energy of your body and speech by living in vows and purifying every day, and then harnessing the energy of your mind by learning to identify the delusions, distinguish from the virtues, and lessen the delusions and grow and sort of lessen and kind of become more content, more fulfilled, more joyful. That's the result of this practice. There's no discussion here of any compassion. It's in order. This is about compassion for yourself. That's the way we'd say it. Giving up your suffering and the causes of your suffering, which are your karma and your delusions. Playing safe, protecting yourself. That's the first scope. And the second, and the result of this, and this is the thing we can't hear, the result of that practice is you becoming more joyful. That's the literal result. You become more joyful. You become more content, less neurotic, more fulfilled. That's the result. This is the method for you to get happy. It's literally that. Now we go to the compassion wing because we open our eyes and we realize we're all in the same boat. So now we have the methodology for oneself. On the basis of this, we can interpret others and help them. So we increase the practice of lessening our neuroses, but now we shift, as I said, we shift the emphasis to now the main enemy is this self-centeredness. And we're doing this gradual process of gradually, slowly turning it around, making this paradigm shift in our mind that finally culminates in bodhicitta, where now only others are our concern. And like I said, this, like we said this morning, this is like an insane idea, but this is the logic of these steps, It's what Buddha is saying is possible. So there's this, as I said, there's two main techniques they have, I think, in the Lama mentioned, the methods to achieve bodhicitta, but there's this nice combination of the two of them, and there's about 11 altogether that Pavanka Rinpoche talks about. I'll just touch on some of them, okay? So let's see how we're going for time. What's our schedule?
7 minutes to break.
Oh, really? Another break?
Another break?
Cake and coffee break already? You sure? That sounds a bit quick. We just had lunch. No? What time is it, though?
It's 2:38.
2:38.
We finish at 4 altogether.
4. Okay. I mean, it's a bit soon for cake and tea, isn't it? Don't you want to wait till 3? Then we'll have a 3 o'clock break and then have a quick little session to finish, a meditation or something. Okay. All right, good. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so let's look at these 11 little techniques. I'll just mention some of them, but keep remembering they're incremental, they're gradual. First one this, then that leads to this, that leads to that. It's just gradual shifting and gradual, step by step, slowly making this shift in the mind, Of course, these actual practices can take several lifetimes, or you spend years and years in intensive retreat on these. We can apply all of them in daily life, there's no question, even though they're incremental. So the very first one is the basis, the foundation, the ground in which we can develop this, basically developing the virtues, essentially love and compassion. They're the two essential virtues. All the others are kind of grounded in those two, which then culminate in this bodhicitta, okay? So again, what is love? Love is a conceptual thought. Okay, this is another whole discussion. I think I mentioned it yesterday. I can't remember. I'll just say it briefly here to remind us. Okay. So when you study the Buddhist model of the mind, you study the epistemological model of the mind, and you study the psychological model of the mind. So we've been discussing the psychological model, the contents, the delusions and the virtues. That's the contents of our mind, as well as that third lot, like concentration, good memory, that stuff, They're the contents of the mind, of mostly the mental consciousness. But the epistemological model, it describes the way the mind functions, and it's totally fascinating. And it goes to extremely subtle, extraordinary detail. And I mean, I think modern scientists, it would blow their mind to study it. But they've got to first posit the possibility. They're not describing the brain. They're describing the non-physical, subjective, cognitive process itself. It's totally mind-blowing the way these great yogis have identified internally the way mind functions. It's incredibly fascinating. So, okay, the epistemological model, this already is very telling, very powerful to show how we get caught up in our nonsense. We've got the sensory consciousness and the mental I'm going back to, this is going back to middle scope, okay? This is back to high school. This is back to where the mind works. We've put compassion for the side for the moment, but this is the basis of understanding compassion, okay? Technically, as well as the delusion. So, okay, you've got the epistemological model, you've got the sensory consciousness, and then we have what they call mental consciousness. So that already this is extremely helpful. So sensory consciousness is another word for mind. They're synonymous, okay? So I always use the same example, but I find it very, very helpful. Hang on a second. So you'll observe my eyes looking here, and I will go, that is a pretty cup. And I would, because I like the yellow, the dragons, I see it. And straight away, my eyes go there. So naturally, we would assume that my eyeballs are identifying, seeing, cognizing a pretty cup. Well, Buddha says, don't be ridiculous. Not possible. The sensory consciousnesses, that is to say, spelling it out, the part of our mind that functions through the medium of the eyeball and all the bits and pieces, or the ear consciousness, touch consciousness, taste consciousness, smell consciousness. The mind part, we don't say this in the West, we think it's physical. Eye consciousness is the mind, not physical, but it works with the eyeball. You get my point? If they're all working well together, you'll have a cognition, and this is the point. The sensory consciousnesses are profoundly limited in their capacity for cognition. So eye consciousness, in fact, can only cognize two things, shape and color. It can't even articulate that, but bare bones, it just identifies shape and color. Now, that's a really important point. So then you've got to ask the question. It's very obvious. It's very obvious. You must ask yourself the question, well, if my eye consciousness can only cognize shape and color, which part of my consciousness is cognizing a pretty cup? So that's your mental consciousness. And okay, there are two parts to this one, two parts, and this is a crucial point. There's the grosser level, which is the only level we function at in day-to-day life, and that's called conceptual. And that includes what? All the conceptual clever thoughts like intellectual, mathematical thoughts, musical thoughts, all the theoretical stuff, clever thoughts. And we're very good at that in the West. All the scientific thoughts, that's conceptuality. But what is a shock to us, that in Buddhist view, that includes what we refer to as feelings. Thoughts, anger, jealousy, attachment, love, compassion, kindness, intention, discrimination. These are all conceptual thoughts. And what they call the afflictions, including the virtues, they're emotional because we're so habituated with them, and because our body and our mind are so connected, then we only notice we have anger when it comes to the body, isn't when your body's shaking. We only notice. That's why when we say we have jealousy or anger, we know it's like a physical pain, isn't it? Isn't it like a physical pain? You can't believe it because the body doesn't feel pain. The body, that's the pain of the mind connecting to the body. But our trouble is we don't notice anger is there until it's vomiting out the mouth, until you're shaking, because we don't look at our mind. But when we start to become familiar with our mind using meditation, then we start to calm the mind down. We start to listen to all the conceptual stories, the conceptual stories that are what anger and attachment and jealousy and love and compassion are in their bones, at their base. And then we build them up with habit, and we have emotion packed around them. Are we communicating here? So a person, for example, who doesn't have much volatile anger. I've heard people say, I got angry once and I've decided I'll never shout again. I have to say that person has got aversion. They've got aversion, but it's more quiet. So they don't ever get volatile and don't shout. That means their anger is there, but it's more subtle. It's not so violent. But we've still got attachment and aversion. And aversion is a more quiet level, like annoyed, upset, frustrated, irritated. Do you understand my point? That's aversion, but that's anger, but it's milder. So then it's almost easy. You can see how you can learn to control it. Well, I must not be angry again, and you'll actually succeed. But a person who's got a habit to be violently angry all the time, it's like a joke. It takes years because the habit is so strong. But all of those emotions, those afflictions, including the virtues, they're got the emotional component because they are these, because that's how we live, with the virtues and the non-virtues. And that's all part of our life: happiness and love and compassion and anger and jealousy. This is the stuff of our mental consciousness at the conceptual level. Then we have, in the mental consciousness, these subtler levels, and this is the point that these Indians invented, Indians discovered by using single point of concentration, using this brilliant skill they developed 3,000 years ago plus, that enabled them to get single point of concentration, to completely subdue the grosser level, completely subdue the sensory, completely subdue the mental, gross level of the mental, the conceptual, and get to the subtler levels of mental consciousness, which you first discover when you get single point of concentration. And that level of mind, the best we can do is just imagine it, because it's non-conceptual. It's so abstract for us to even imagine that. And that's where Lama Yeshe, in his Mahamudra book, he says that it's at that level of mind, when you get even some level of concentration in shamatha, because your grosser level has ceased, because the sensory has ceased, and because the grosser level of conceptuality has ceased, your mind is insanely blissful. I mean, like ridiculously, Lama says, you will experience ecstasy, rapture. He tries to show it. That's the nature of our mind, to the degree it is unencumbered by delusions, even temporarily, and by sensory. So we live at the grossest level of our minds. Sensory is the grossest of grossest level that exists and depends upon the body. And then we have the subtle level, which is mental, but we live at the grosser level of the mental, which is conceptuality. And that's all we posit in the West. It's all we posit in neuroscience. Because when you are concentrating in serious, subtle concentration, your brain has stopped. You would look like you were dead. And that's why we think people are dead when they're not dead, because their mental consciousness is still there at a subtle level. That's what happens when you dream in a coma, So at the epistemological level, we have the sensory and the mental. So back to the cup. There is a pretty cup. So eye consciousness sees shape and color. And then quicker than Google, honestly, my mental consciousness is accessed, and that's, as Lama Zopa says, is where the workshop is. That's where all the thoughts and feelings and emotions and unconscious and subconscious and basically the level is all these opinions, conceptual thoughts, and they are opinions. They're viewpoints. Based upon our delusions, based upon our habits, we literally construct them. And we say, there is a pretty cup. And then Kerry dares to argue with me, and I will divorce him. Because he says, no, it is ugly. So we have a war. That's conceptuality. And the tragedy is, this is the tragedy of samsara. I believe that pretty cup is in the clay, put there like a spoonful of prettiness along with the yellow paint. I believe it is in the cup, but I'm this objective observer of reality. And this is how we live our lives, people. From the second we wake up in the morning, our senses are the first stop, aren't they? Your body feels the air, your tongue tastes, your eyes see shape and color, and the rest of it from that second is all our conceptual stories. Start interpreting. Ugly husband, delicious coffee, mean person, lousy Mr. Trump. We live in conceptuality, which is the grossest level of our mental consciousness. And this is the point about now conceptuality. There are valid concepts as well as invalid. And this is the job of being a Buddhist, to distinguish between valid and invalid concepts. So on the emotional level, love is a valid concept. It is saying, we see your hubby, he just farted. Oh, it's all right. He's just a human being. May you be happy, darling. That's love. But the other one, if your aversion is there, oh, disgusting. You know I don't like you farting. Shut up. That's attachment. Now you can see the difference. They're both conceptual thoughts. One is virtuous, so it makes you feel nice, and hubby looks okay. And the other one, you want to kill him. We know this. And this is how we spend our lives, interpreting. And we think these interpretations are true. That's the killer. It's bad enough, as Lama Zopa says, that we see things wrongly, you know, or even just simply saying pretty cup is real. It's an absolute truth. But bad enough we see things wrongly, but especially if you're an evil person, that's much worse. Bad enough things appear to us wrongly. The killer is, and this is the tragedy, we believe it's an objective truth. I know you can hear what I'm saying. This is like incredible. So our job is to sort out this mess in our mental consciousness, the concepts. And this is the job, is to distinguish in terms of all the emotional stuff. In just the same way that when you're playing piano, you have to have this brilliant mind that can distinguish between the right and the wrong notes. That's what we mean by science. And we know it's rigorous and intense, and we demand that rigor and intelligence and clarity. We know that with science and cooking, but as soon as it comes to happy person, we lose the plot, you know, we're pathetic, you know. This is our job, to unpack and unravel this workshop and learn to distinguish between what is in there, the reality of them. This is the job of being a Buddhist. And that's why Lama Zopa says, even you're not, you know, or Pabonka Rinpoche says, even you're not sure, let's say, for example, what emptiness means finally, but even just to think, maybe the way things appear to me aren't true. Just to doubt our stories. This is profound, you know, to shake your view. I mean, that's why we have to understand the function of all the emotional afflictions. The function of the emotional afflictions is to exaggerate reality. That's why they're misconceptions. It's quite literal. It's quite literal. It's like if you've got a misconception that a 50-pound note is 500. For so long, you've believed it is 500. For so long, you believed it's 500. You will see 2 zeros. You will see 2 zeros. That's how delusions work. So for so long have we had this emotional hunger, this attachment, hungering for different things out there to make me happy. Then when your attachment glasses are on, we say when you've got your rose-colored spectacles on, everything looks la-di-da, you know, and you believe it's true. So when the cake is there first and you're hungry, it looks divine. 4 pieces later, you want to vomit. Same object. 1 minute your hubby's kind to you, he looks lovely. Next minute he farts, he looks ugly. I mean, we don't join the dots. You can see this. These are the emotional afflictions. And then you have all the philosophical views that Buddha also would say are wrong, are mistaken conceptions. He would say creator is a mistaken conception. Don't have to believe him. He's not being mean. He's telling you what he's seen. That your mother making you is a misconception. She gave you a brain. Yep, but she didn't give you love and kindness or being good at football. That's yours. That's mind. So all these things, these are like his philosophical views where he presents his findings about what is true. Then it's up to us to prove it. These emotional ones are much harder because we're addicted to our own stories, aren't we? So now to compassion. So compassion is also rooted in being a conceptual thought. But as you grow it, this is the thing we see, as you grow it, you grow the conceptual thought, you can start small, seeing, you know, we're going to go into this in the process, in the steps, you know, you start small. There's a person out there, oh, may you be happy. That's called love. You don't have much feeling yet. You're kind of still boring, but you try, may you be happy. Then every day you see them, maybe you're happy. You start to get a habit of loving them, and it becomes genuine love eventually where you can feel it. Well, we've practiced attachment and aversion to perfection. They're totally real for us. The emotional package around them is so intense because we've practiced attachment and aversion concepts for so many lifetimes. So, okay, now start. The first of these 11 steps is the basis, the ground in which we are growing the virtues, the love and compassion, great compassion, and then culminating in bodhicitta, you know. The first one is called equanimity, okay? So there's different uses of this word in Buddhist teachings. In the first stages of practice, you controlling your body, speech, and mind, one of the consequences for you internally is that you're less demented, you're less up and down like a yoga, it's berserk, you know? You have more equanimity within yourself. That's a very pleasing experience. Very nice. That's that equanimity. But the one here is quite different, another interpretation altogether. This is the Buddhist view. So this equanimity here is in relation to others. And so, as we know, if we look at the three poisons, attachment, aversion, and ignorance, then here what we're looking at is the objects of those three poisons in terms of sentient beings. So we divide all sentient beings in the universe into objects of attachment. We call them friends. Objects of aversion, we call them enemy. We mightn't use that word. It's a good word, the person for whom we have aversion. And the third one, 99.9999% of everybody in the universe, they are called strangers. And there's no fourth category. So what is friend? By definition, is a person whom we have attachment for, meaning we exaggerate their beauty. They're like your little precious baby, your brand new boyfriend before he starts farting, you know. You understand my point? Totally divine. The object of our attachment, our dear friends, our baby, our beloved. And for this person, we call them friend. We have attachment for them, but the crucial piece is as long as they fulfill our attachment, as long as they fulfill our needs, then we're prepared to call them friend. And they're the ones we have love for, only them. You deserve love. You do what my attachment wants, so I want you to be happy. So if you think about the world, they're the only ones we have love for, basically, the ones we're attached to. That's why we confuse those two states of mind. We assume they're the same thing. They're totally different. I think us English, I know we said it in Australia, but it's English. They're like chalk and cheese, which says a lot for English cheese, doesn't it? Maybe it's probably Kraft cheddar. In the 1950s, when the Italians started coming to Australia, because you Brits came first with your crummy food. You understand? And the poor Italians came and had mental breakdowns. They started bringing their coffee machines and things and started having decent coffee. I know in the 50s when I was a little girl, I mean, we had this dreadful coffee. The only cheese we saw, because we were poor, was Kraft cheddar, the soft, yucky stuff, processed cheese. You had this phony coffee, you know, terrible food. And then the Chinese started coming and the Greeks started coming and the Italians started coming and our food perked up, you know. You understand? Anyway, this is the killer, you know. Attachment is I-based. We learned this in high school. I-based, fear-based. They're all fear-based. They're panic-stricken. And it's an exaggeration of the deliciousness of somebody out there, and it's coming from emotional hunger and the desperate craving to get that person, get that object, because that'll make me happy. It's like we're vampires, you know. So here, the attachment is for people. We know that. Your poodle, your beloved, your baby. And of course, they appear divine to you. They appear so delicious. I'm sure if you're a mother and you adore your baby, you can see a photo of 1,000 babies, and in 1 millisecond, you'll identify your baby. They'll have a halo around them, you know. You'll say, there's my baby, the best of all. That's why all babies look the same to me, you know. Do you understand? So I'll attach them. I take the wrong baby home, you know, it's mine. So the attachment, we can see this, because it's so normal in the universe, the whole world is based on attachment. The whole business of romance and relationships is based on attachment. You know, it's incredible. So attachment is there. And as long as that person does what your attachment wants, then that's called a friend. And that's the person you want to be happy. And that's the person you have compassion for. And that's normal in our world. Nobody kind of thinks you're weird if you don't have compassion for the person who harms you, because that's the next category. So what are they? Well, that's the ex-husband who cheated on you. So how do you feel about them now? Attachment has stopped and has turned into the opposite, which is aversion and anger. Depending on how strong it is in you, is how ugly they appear to you. We know this. So enemy, by definition, is a person who doesn't do what your attachment wants. It's personal. So how do you feel about them? You stop loving them, you stop having compassion, and you hope they drop dead. I mean, you know what I'm saying. And why? This is the shocking part. We should be so embarrassed. An enemy, by definition, is a person who doesn't do what I want, doesn't agree with me, has different politics, likes different music, and especially if it's against me. It can be against the next door neighbor. I don't care. So it's utterly personal. It's no question. And because this is so normal, we take it for granted, you know. The third one is we should be really embarrassed. A stranger, by definition, is a person who's neither helped me nor harmed me. So therefore, they are literally invisible to us. We can't even look at them. They're so boring, you know. So, of course, these days with the iPads and news and all that stuff, we're going to read about everybody on the planet, countries whose names we can't even say. We'll have momentary compassion, but it won't last long, you know, because they're not our people. Do you understand? As soon as I read, even though I haven't lived in Australia for centuries, you know, I'm years, not centuries. I'm not centuries old, getting old. But I mean, naturally, as soon as I read about something, a fire in Melbourne, oh, there's a fire in my house, you know, there's a fire in my city. Oh, look at that, you know, because it's my people, Australia. Just, you say that as well. I've got a British passport. It's not much good to me in the world these days. No one wants a British passport because my daddy was born in London, you see. And then I've lived in America for a while, so I've got an American passport as well. So when I went for my American passport, I said, can I keep my other ones? And she said, we don't mind how many passports you have, as long as you have allegiance for the United States. So I've got to feel like an American. I don't know what that means yet. The categories in which everybody in the universe fits. And think about fourth. It's quite shocking to hear this. There's no fourth category because we have the three poisons: attachment, aversion, and ignorance. And they're necessarily self-centered labels. We should be embarrassed. This is normal life. But the tragedy is, when it comes to, say, the friend or the enemy, friend especially, we don't distinguish between attachment and love. This is a revelation when you hear Buddhist teaching, but it is so hard to see the difference, to feel the difference, because they come together. They come together, you know, so we assume they're the same. So the commonest thing is, if you suffer in a relationship, like a beloved, like a romantic relationship, like, you know, your hubby dies after 50 years of being together, we say, you know, a friend of mine says it's the greatest pain she has ever known, because she doesn't assume between attachment and love. And then people say, oh, that's what happens because you love somebody. No, it's what happens because you have attachment. So to begin to even theoretically to distinguish between these is really a revelation. And then to begin to just identify them in your mind every day. This is your full-time job. This is your full-time job. Just the same as I said before, to begin to distinguish between criticizing, being proud, and rejoicing in your virtue. They seem the same, but one is virtuous and one is not virtuous. This is why this analysis is so incredibly important, and to understand what it means. A non-virtuous deluded state of mind is I-based, is fear-based, is neurotic, is fearful, is not comfortable, causes you pain, and causes things to appear wrongly to you, and therefore causes you to harm others. So equanimity, what is that? Getting to what equanimity is now. It's a very bare bones, very simple point, and each of these is a very precise step. Each of these is quite precise, you know, quite analytical. So equanimity is a very clear state of mind that you have to cultivate. We're going to discuss how. When you've got it, what it is a clear, heartfelt recognition that the beloved, the friend, the ugly enemy, your ex-husband, and the boring stranger are equal to each other from one point of view. The current friend might be a saint, the ex-husband might be a monster. No argument. It's not the discussion here. And the stranger might be boring. But this is not the issue, because that's just the lenses of attachment and aversion and ignorance, painting pictures. But this is the point, it's from their point of view, in their shoes. You put yourself no, don't you put yourself there, you just think in their shoes, these three, friend, enemy, stranger, totally different in their behavior to you. But from their point of view, equanimity is the recognition that they are equal to each other from one point of view. And that is, they each want to be happy and each don't want suffering. That's it. That's equanimity. It's really precise. So how do you get there? Well, you've got to practice being analytical. And initially it sounds shocking, because the first thing we say is, you say you don't like Mr. Trump. I say a politician. Let's just say, well, no, He's American, isn't he? So anyway, they all talk about him in America. But let's just say it's Mr. Trump you don't like. And you put him in the enemy category, let's just say. And then you go, he is the same as my beloved in the fact that he wants to be happy and not suffer. And you know what our first response is? What do you mean he wants to be happy? He doesn't deserve happiness. So forget Mr. Trump. It's the ex-husband. The ex-husband. The pain of being harmed by somebody like that is unbearable, isn't it? The pain of your hubby cheating on you, whom you've sacrificed your life for 30 years. You come home and there's a note, I've left you for a younger version, you know? That one, that's the most pain. We know that. So then to hear that that husband, that mean person who harmed you, was like stabbing your heart, and your beloved little baby, let's say, that they are equal in wanting to be happy and not suffer, we can't even hear it. Because the first thing is, what do you mean he wants to be happy? He doesn't deserve it. And that's the point about attachment. We will only give our love to those who deserve it. And who deserves it? Someone who does what I want. That's it. It's so self-centered. We should be embarrassed, but it's just so normal, you know. So equanimity, how do you get it? This is not love yet. This is not compassion yet. This is not any of those yet. This is the first step. So the logic is very clear. Okay, so the Buddha is saying everybody in the universe just naturally wants those happy feelings. And everybody in the universe just naturally doesn't want unhappy feelings. It's just natural. It's natural. And all he's saying is, hey guys, I found some methods. That's all he's saying. I found the methods to get this, to stop suffering and get happy. That's all he's saying. He's found methods. And the methods we're using don't work. That's all he's saying. So in this process, in these 11 steps, we're trying to cultivate love. May you be happy for everybody. And we're trying to cultivate compassion. May you not suffer for everybody. So we've got to start at the basics of the three kinds of people, friends, enemies, and strangers, and look at the logic we're using. So right now, the only ones we say, may you be happy to, are those who do what my attachment wants. And the ones we, they're the only ones, a small category. And as long as they keep doing what I want, I'll keep wanting them to be happy. So our love is contingent upon on attachment, isn't it? It's contingent. As long as you keep satisfying my needs, I'm prepared to say to you, may you be happy. Because you know what? Because you deserve it. So it's very heavy. It's implied in all these states. It's very heavy. You've got to deserve my love. Then I'm prepared. If you do what I want, I'm prepared to want you to be happy. We say that. We don't say it, but that's what we're saying. But all Buddha's saying is, that's the wrong logic for wanting someone to be happy. That's the wrong logic for love. The right logic is because she wants to be happy. And we all know that. If you do something your mother really doesn't want, go against her religion, let's say, and she struggles with it, and then she says, darling, whatever makes you happy. That's real love. Can you see that? That's proper love. It's not just because if you only do what she wants, which our mummies want, then that's the love driven by attachment. But if she is prepared to allow you, accept that you want to do another religion, whatever makes you happy, sweetheart, that's love. Can you hear the difference? We understand it. And that's tremendously hard, because we're all manipulative. Attachment is so manipulative. That's why we manipulate each other in relationships. It's so wicked, Mother-child relationships, beloved relationships are so wicked. We manipulate each other all the time, all based on attachment. Because attachment can't stand anything that I don't like. Attachment has to have it my way. So that's why attachment to sex, attachment to drugs, attachment to opinions, attachment to you doing what I want is a major one. In relationships, we all try to manipulate the person to do what I want. This is attachment's job. It's a monster, So the moment our love is based on that, it's wicked. It's just wicked, we think it's so pure. So we've got to shift the logic for why I want to say, may you be happy. Here the logic is, guess what Buddha says? Have you noticed, Robina, everybody wants to be happy, and that's the logic. That's what you have to shift. So equanimity is that shift in your mind. It's not loving them yet. It's just shifting the logical reason for loving them. It's because they want to be happy. They want to be happy. They don't want suffering. So that's the basis of then gradually growing love and compassion for them. That's equanimity. Be very precise about it. Are we communicating? This is analytical. This is not an emotional, oh, I love everybody, may everybody be happy, wow, 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 they're all equal. No, you got to squeeze your brain to argue logically with delusions because they're liars. This is why analytical meditation is powerful. That's why you go to a therapist, you use analysis. You don't just there bawl your eyes out. You use analysis to break down the trouble. Here, this is what you're doing. So hearing the logic of that. So how do you practice it every day? You start small. Let's say you're a grandma and you have this divine grandchild who's like a little angel as far as you're concerned. And they're playing with a smelly kid next door who might be a mean little boy. I'm not saying he's not. Do you understand me? So you're looking for your little girl, watching like a hawk in case this mean little boy does something mean to your little angel. And you catch yourself. You better give it a break. This little smelly boy, in his own little heart, is driven by the same yearning to be happy, just like your angel. And this is a fact. That's one example, you know. But you've got to prove logic. So logic is a logical reason is this one. I like using this analogy. This is logic. This is logic. Okay. What's your name? Stephen. Let's say I've never met Stephen before. He lives down the road at number 6, and he's Kerry's friend. So Kerry tells me about how Stephen gets migraines. And Kerry's my mate. And I've never heard of Stephen. He's the bloke down at number 7. I see him maybe on the bus or walking down the street. He's this boring bloke. Because he's a stranger. Because he's neither helped nor harmed me. You understand? He's a stranger. He's distant from me. So I try to have compassion. Oh, poor Stephen. Does he really? Pass the sugar, please. It lasts about a second. You get my point? We understand that, you know. So he's a stranger. He's in the stranger category. And now Kerry introduces me and we fall in love and he moves me into number 6 or number 7, whatever it was. Now what happens? Suddenly he's gone from stranger to friend category, hasn't he? And now how do I feel about Stephen and his migraines? I'll think about him day and night. I'll spend my money on him. I'll find him the best doctors. I'll take care of him at night. I'll love him. People go, oh, isn't Robina kind? She takes care of Stephen morning and night. Excuse me. What's the difference here? So this is the point now. Now let's say Stephen cheats on me and moves in Mary and chucks me out. And now he's in the enemy category. So first of all, because Stephen neither helped nor harmed me, I didn't much care about his migraines. And then when he was my beloved, I adored every piece of earth he walked on and would give him my life for him. Look, he was so loving and compassionate. And now he's cheated on me. May he suffer from his migraines, you know. Now we know this is true. So what's the point of equanimity? It's very simple. If you interview Stephen, you're a journalist, and you go to Stephen when he's my stranger, and you interview him about his migraines, and he will say they are unbearable, won't he? And then you interview him later when he's my friend, and this interviewer doesn't know it. How are your migraines today, Stephen? They're still terrible. And you interview him when he's my mean, ugly friend, my stranger, my enemy, right? He will say the same. So in other words, the friend, the stranger, and the enemy, their migraines are the same. Whether he's a mean, ugly guy, whether he's a monster, whether he's a psychopath, his migraine's horrible. So, but we can't see that because all we see is a picture. My delusions are painted in reference to me. It's so embarrassing how self-centered it is, isn't it? And we communicating. It's logical that whether it's a friend or an enemy or a stranger, they all want to be happy and all can't stand migraine. They all don't want to be miserable. It's nothing to do with deserving. It's nothing to do with whether they're nice to you. It's nothing to do with whether they're a monster or a pedophile. This is a simple, bare fact. The panther, the python, the rat, the cockroach, the saint, the sinner. It's just sort of obvious. We've got to think it through and use it as a basis for then gradually shifting our logic to eventually I want to learn to want to love him and have compassion. And you're not even doing that yet. You're first establishing the meaning of equanimity as a basis. And you try to put it into practice every day. Give it a break, Robina. You know, that little smelly kid feels the same as my beloved. So we've got to know these words, but this is kind of clarity to help us see it clearly and go beyond our own pathetic stories, you know. But another example I like to use, another thing, is yourself. Let's just say yourself. And you've got a friend, enemy, and stranger in front of you. But you are the friend and the enemy straight. Think it, swap it around, and you are the friend. Your beloved is looking at you, and you can tell they see you as a friend because they're looking starry-eyed at you. You look at the enemy, your ex-boyfriend, he's looking at you with daggers, right? So you're the enemy for him. And you look at the stranger, finding you completely boring because you're a stranger for them. So that's it. That you are the three of those people. You are the enemy and the friend and the stranger. Well, it's obvious. However they see you has no impact upon whether you want to be happy or suffering. It's sort of obvious, you know. This is little simple examples to get the meaning of this meaning of wanting to be happy and not wanting to suffer. That's the basis. So equanimity is your heartfelt recognition of that. Of course, it starts as rational, but as you grow these things, it becomes true because you're removing your rubbish and get in the way of the delusions, you know. So you practice it by thinking that example I just said. A person in the line, you know, if you're at the airport, when you're waiting in long lines, you know, queues, waiting for to get in, and you're like, your friend wants to hop in front of you. I mean, simple things. Yeah, please come in, you know. He wants to be happy just like me. He wants to be happy just like me. He doesn't want to suffer just like me. That's equanimity. Not love and compassion yet, but it's the basis. This is a really tough one because we base it so much on deserve, you know, which means they've got to be nice to me, then I can deserve it, you know. This is a very strong one. Very, very, very strong. Any questions about that? Actually, it's tea time by now, yeah, 3 o'clock.
Tea time.
Okay, we
So
better
it's
go.
3:15.
It is already?
Yeah.
Good Lord, practically time to go home. Have a quick break, cup of tea and a coffee, relax, discuss it if you want, and then come back and do a little meditation, okay? All right, sweethearts, come back and I think half an hour is good. Or maybe 20 minutes. Is that enough for you? Do I have a little